All right, today, look at that. I just saw that my microphone thing fell off. Sorry. But yeah, oh my gosh. I think today it's more about, we're talking about motivation, right? Doing something whenever you don't want to. And I think what happens is that, for me especially, we think that it's going to take motivation to get us through something, when in reality, motivation is so short term. That's something that can maybe get you through a day or maybe through a week. But I have learned over my lifetime that it's more about discipline, right? That gets you to where you need to be. And so, yeah, motivation can maybe inspire you, motivate you to do something that you need to get done for the day. But if you're not disciplined enough to get it done and continue doing it over and over and over, it's definitely not going to be something that you continue to do. And so the example that comes to me for me right now regarding discipline and motivation and understanding the difference between the two is going to the gym, right? So I'm actually coming up on a year. In August, I moved into this home that I live in, which is, currently a rental home. And so when I first moved here, I was already going to the gym before, but I was definitely kind of like a seasonal gym goer. You know what that means? Like I would go maybe, 3 or 4 months at a time, and then all of a sudden I would just kind of like wean off or fall off, the day-to-day attendance. I wouldn't go every day. Like I would maybe take, 3 or 4 months off, and then I would start again. So I would be motivated to go to the gym on a seasonal basis. So if it was like fall and winter, like I was so motivated because I've always believed that summer bodies are built in the fall and the winter. But this year I told myself, I was like, no, like I am committed to going all year round. And so when I first moved here into this new home, it was in August, and I said, I want to become a gym rat, is the term I use, right? Because I was like, I want to be a gym rat. Like, I don't want to just go occasionally or every once in a while or seasonally. Like, I want to be committed and disciplined enough to going to the gym all year long. And so that's what I did, But I think in the past, I had this belief that in order for me to create this identity and be this person, I had to go to the gym every day or 5 times a week or whatever the case that we tell ourselves you have to, the standards you have to meet in order to become that person. But I quickly realized that that is not even within my capacity. Like, I don't even have the energy to go to the gym 5 days a week. I just don't. Like, I'm tired when I get home from work. I have other obligations and duties, with my kids. I also want to have a personal life and go out with my friends and hang with family. And so I just knew that I would not be able to try to force myself to commit to going to the gym 5 days a week. So what I told myself was like, you know what? It's more about being able to go at least, 2 to 3 times a week. I felt like that was a good enough amount of time for me to feel like there was a difference and for me to feel like I am getting stronger, right? Because I think before I would associate going to the gym with like losing weight, like, oh, I needed to lose weight and I needed to, be, um, you know, just have this, like, I don't know, fantasy idea of like what I would look like, if I went to the gym every day. But it wasn't about that this year. Like this year has really been about finding myself. Like, who am I outside of being a wife and a mother? Because that's who I have been for the last 18 years, right? As I've talked about before, I recently got out of a marriage, an 18-year marriage, and I wanted to use this year to figure out who I am outside of those roles that I had taken on. I had taken on the role of being a mother and the role of being a wife. And so, who am I outside of that? And so, I really felt like going to the gym and disciplining myself to become a strong, healthy, and fit person was one of those goals for myself. And yeah, if you look at me, I'm still plus size, I'm still overweight, but oh my gosh, I have become so much stronger. I have also lost some weight, and I've also become healthier. Like, like it wasn't even about like losing the weight. Like it was more about being able to do things that I couldn't do before on my own. Like, like for example, we went to the river yesterday, and before I would not even dare think about getting close to the river on these stones that were, slippery, or because I was so afraid, like, oh my gosh, these are big steps that you have to take in order to get down, into the river, because the stones are just really big. And I said, I'm not ever going down there because I will not be able to get back up. Like, I'm not, if I sit down there, I'm not gonna be able to get back up. And, I told myself, like, I can get down there and get back up on my own, but before I wouldn't do it unless I had my husband there helping me to get up. And so now that I don't have that option, I don't have that option to ask my husband to help me, or ask someone, to give me their hand and help me go up and down those stones. I said, I have to do this. I have to be able to do this on my own. And so I did. I was able to do it. Like, I was so happy, proud of myself, because the boys were going down the chute and they were having their fun. And, I just, was sat there on the big stones and recorded them. And then I was able to just like get up and, walk back out whenever I was done. And so that those are just like the little things that I was so proud of myself, of being able to do, that I couldn't do before on my own. And then when it came to, just even like wearing a bathing suit, right? Like before, I would never go somewhere without wearing a shirt or wearing a cover up or doing, something over my bathing suit. And now I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm going in my bathing suit. Like, it's literally just my bathing suit, no cover up, no t-shirt, no nothing. I'm going like this, because it's common nature. It's like very common. Everybody just walks around town. Everybody does everything that they want to do in their bathing suit. There's no like, oh, I need to wear a cover up, or oh, I need to wear, like a little skirt, or nah. I'm just like, I'm wearing my bathing suit, and and of course my bathing suit is like short, so it's no big deal. It just looks like you're wearing a swim top, with shorts. And so that's what I wore, and I didn't care, what other people were thinking or saying about me, because I think it does come with age. It comes maybe with just kind of like, I sit here and I tell myself, like, I'm almost 50 years old. How in the hell am I going to be almost 50 years old and still be worried about what other people think? Like, I don't give a damn. Like, I don't give a fuck, honestly, what other people think about me. Because if I cannot live my life peacefully and be able to sit here and say, like, I am proud of who I am and who I have become over this last year, then then what the hell am I doing? And so I really think that it does come with age, but at the same time it comes with the mindset shift. Like, you just don't overthink things. You don't sit there and think about what other people are gonna say. What are the and it does require you to, like, just be honest with yourself and say, like, I don't want to worry about what other people say. I don't want to think about what other people are thinking. Those are their thoughts, those are their words, those are their beliefs, or those perspectives. But that's not what I think. That's not what I want to believe. That's not what I want to think about myself. I don't want to sit here and censor myself, You know, there's plenty of people who are already like, oh my gosh, they can't see a fat person, or they can't look at a person, who's plus size and think that they're beautiful. Then let them. Like, that's what they want to believe and think, that, overweight people or big people can't be beautiful and sexy and be in a bathing suit. Then that's their problem, not mine, because that's not what I believe. Okay. So anyways, back to, what I was talking about is like the discipline, the discipline that you have to have in order to keep doing something over and over and over again, especially on the damn days that you don't want to, like getting up. I was working from home for the last 9 months, so I was 100% working from home. So it was easy to like go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week. But about 6 weeks ago, almost 8 weeks ago, we transitioned to a hybrid schedule. So now I'm going to the office 3 days out of the week, and then I work from home 2 days a week. So on the 2 days a week that I work from home, that's when I'm going to the gym. And then I go on Saturdays. So I go Monday, Fridays, and Saturdays to the gym. So it's worked out really well for me because I kind of start the week going to the gym, and then I end the week going to the gym. And then right now over the summer, I've even incorporated swimming. And so I'm starting to, go to the pool and swim instead of just going to the gym, because sometimes, again, you get bored, or you get tired of doing the same thing over and over. And so I try to incorporate, something different to so that I can stay motivated, to want to still work out and incorporate movement into my day. And so, going swimming on Tuesday sometimes, or I go on Friday sometimes to go swimming instead of, going to the gym. And then just being consistent, right? And now it's become my routine. Like, it's now part of just like my weekly routine, to get up, go to the gym. And I'm more of a morning person. Like, I got to get up and do it in the morning, because if I don't do it in the morning, I am sure as heck not going to do it after work. I just have learned that about myself, that I'm not one to be like, you know what, I'm done working, now I'm going to go work out. No, because I'm usually mentally exhausted after work, and I'm tired, and I'm ready to just take a nap after dinner, go to the, we eat dinner, and then, then I'll, like I said, be able to just relax. Every once in a while, I do. The boys will sit here and say, like, Mom, let's go swimming. And I'll be like, all right, let's go. We're not doing anything. Let's just, hang out, since it is a longer day. But back to what I was saying is that, I've committed to this to a whole year. And for me to sit here and say, that it's beyond what I thought it was going to be, again, I've been able to do away with my anemia. I have been able to do away with my thyroid problems. I have, like I said, been able to, all of my results. I did everything. Like, I literally just last month did all of the blood work. I did all of my cholesterol, my hormones, all of, everything pretty much came back normal, other than the typical perimenopausal things that you experience, at this age, which that, it's going to happen regardless of what you're doing, whether you're working out or not, you're going to experience, perimenopause. But everything else, was normal. And, like I said, I'm going to be 48 years old here in a few months, and it has been just like amazing to be able to like do the things that I want to do without feeling like I am doing too much, or I've burnt out, or I don't want to do this anymore, right? I'm not waking up feeling like I don't want to work out. I do want to work out, because I see myself as a gym person. Like, I am a gym person. I do work out regularly. I do enjoy going to the gym and lifting weight, and pushing things around, and be more comfortable with that identity, because it really is a shift. It's not just a mindset shift. It's not just like, trying to motivate yourself and inspire yourself, to do something that you didn't do regularly all the time. You literally have to become that person. Like, you become that person that goes to the gym. You become that person that gets up and does something without having to, be told or inspired or motivated to do it. You just do it, right? It sounds so cheesy and so, um, even cringe, like my son says sometimes, because you sound like a freaking Nike commercial, right? Where you're like, just do it. You know what I mean? You don't think about it, you just do it. Just like nobody sits here and tells me to brush my teeth. I just brush my teeth. So it's the same thing. Like, you just go to the gym. Like, that's what you do. That's part of like your day to day. And so I have definitely seen the benefits and reaped the benefits of becoming the kind of person, that disciplines themselves, to do something, to commit to themselves every day, and I hope you do too. I hope that you see that, yeah, there are perks and benefits of, working out, but it's not just about the working out. It's about the commitment that you make to yourself, the discipline that you create to do something that you didn't do before, and the identity that you take on to become the kind of person that prioritizes your health and is able to do things. Now, hey, if it doesn't happen again after this year, at least I know what it felt like because I committed to myself for this year. Of course, I still want to continue to do that moving forward, but hey, I can't predict the future, but all I know is that I committed to something for a year and I did it. And so, that's what motivates me and inspires me, and, the proof that I have to show that I am, doing something that is worth my time. And so let's keep talking, let's keep doing this, and, seeing what you can do. And I know you can do this. And if you need my help to continue to see yourself in me, to do what you can, let's continue talking. Let's keep talking about it. All right. We'll talk soon.